Welcome back, fellow soldiers, to this week's update on the Hell Let Loose Developers Briefing. As you probably have noticed, I skipped last week's Developers Briefing. There was just too much going on, but that means we are going to get much more for this week's Developers Update. I will be going over the Developers Briefing number 101 and 102, and let me tell you, there is a lot to come for you guys. It is totally worth listening to the whole thing, and it is also totally worth having a look at the screen from time to time, as I will show you some pictures out of the developers' briefings. Now, the topics that we are going to talk about are things that we have been waiting for a long time, and we will finally be getting them with update number 8. That will be, for one part, engineer deployables, fortifications upgrades, and with the latest developers briefing, there's also news that we will get trucks to drive around on the Hell Let Loose maps. So I know you guys are as excited as I am for this stuff, so let's dive right into it and start with the engineer deployables and fortifications upgrade. Previously, the engineer deployable array has been very lackluster, to say the least. Barbed wire provides nothing more functional than something to vault over, and the most significant cover available was a small waist-high sandbag wall. These were something that we wanted to get in as soon as possible when we initially released, but also something that we knew we'd come back to overhaul, rebuilding the logic behind them to better incorporate cross-role dependency, better integration of supplies as a resource, visual consistency polish, and actual functionality on the battlefield. In Update 8, engineers will have their deployables loadout altered to now include the bunker and the barricade. And if you are having a look at the screen right now, you can see how these will look like, how the barricades will look like, and how the bunkers will look like. And if you are just listening to it, the barricades are just some wood pile trench stuff that gives you minimum cover. Then there is some trench wood with sandbags, that is the fortification version of a barricade, and there's also the bunker that gives you more protection. And yes, as you probably realize, this will be dependent on the caliber of the weapons that will shoot at them. So as you probably know, the developers have integrated a new system for bullet penetration, and with the new system of bullet penetration there will also be different fortifications to build that withholds to different calibers. So if you build a simple barricade, small arms fire will be held off, and if you build a bunker that of course needs more supplies to build, then it'll probably also hold off a bazooka. And there's even more interesting things that the developers have thought about. Mainly that the wrench that the engineer has will now be used as a planning tool. As an engineer, you are walking on the battlefield, you have the idea to build a bunker at a certain position, then you take out your wrench and you are going to build your plan into the environment. From that point on, it is not only dependent on you if that thing will be built or not. That is because many roles will, from update 8 on, get a hammer tool that they can use. So as soon as the engineer has put down some plans, other roles are able to build those planned structures with their hammers if there is supplies close by. And that means in a radius of 50 meters. So that's a very cool thing. I have to be honest, I haven't thought about an option like this, but this seems to be a very cool addition and I'm very looking forward to that one. Now, if you've listened closely, you are probably asking yourselves, well, if I build just a little trench, then I'll probably use less supplies than if I want to build a bunker, right? And yes, that's true, a bunker needs more supplies to be built than a trench or a small fortification needs. And as you know, for now, the supply guy, the support, only has a limited amount of supplies. And that's also a thing that will be addressed in update number 8. From update 8 on, it will be possible to deliver supplies with trucks. So it will be possible to move a lot more supplies at once to a certain location to build and fortify that location. But more on that in just a few minutes. Let's stay with the engineer fortification upgrade for a second, because I have some quite interesting points on that to add from the developers briefing, mainly that if several players are building a structure with their hammers, it will progress faster, and the enemy, of course, cannot see the ghost structures or the plant structures. So the developers have also thought about this one, so there aren't any plant structures just standing around on the battlefield and for the enemy to see. And a very cool thing that these fortifications bring with them is, in addition to their shape being functional, they also have the ability to be continued, to be upgraded by engineers. Initially, we'll build up the relatively cheap first stage of a certain structure, and then from that on, we have to upgrade that with more supplies. Then we can upgrade it to a small bunker, to a bigger bunker. And of course, if you have built too many of them, they are also destructible for you as the engineer, but they are also, of course, destructible for the enemy if they shoot at it. So keep that in mind, that fortifications still can be destroyed, of course, I think. Now, having talked about the improvements that will be launched with update number 8 for the engineer, let's have a talk about the most recent developers briefing number 102 that included more information about trucks being added to the gameplay. Trucks and vehicles in general were a wish from the community, quite a big wish because the maps are quite big. So the very first 5 to 10 minutes of a match, it's just a running simulator, as you probably know if you have played the game. The maps and the environment are beautiful to have a look at, of course, but if you have to walk for 10 minutes just to be shot from somewhere that you don't know, that's pretty frustrating. So with update number 8, the developers add supply trucks. One supply truck for the United States and also one supply truck for the German side. Now, the supply trucks have two functions, apart from being able to be driven. One function is that they can deliver supplies, and that means they can bring 300 supplies, so 2 supply crates with 150 supplies each, and they can be delivered to any location that you need them. They have to be unpacked from the truck, from the supply truck, by pressing right mouse button, I think, but then you can fully use them to build structures and so on and so on. So that's a pretty neat addition to the game. Another thing that these trucks can do, and I'm not sure here if there are different trucks from the supply trucks or if it's the same that can do both. There will be transport trucks that can transport troops from the HQ to the battlefield. I'm not sure, as I said, if it's the supply trucks that can also transport troops. We'll see about that one. But a great addition here, of course, transport trucks that transport people. To be specific, about 12 players per truck. And yes, of course, you are not safe from bullets inside a transport truck. So keep your eyes open as the driver, but also as a guy being transported, with having a look at the map and being aware of where you are. You can be shot inside the truck, and of course the truck can be destroyed by bigger calibers. So be aware where you drive, with whom you drive especially, and where you are at with your truck. Now, I hope you enjoyed some of these pictures I showed you out of the developers briefing. I hope you are also as hyped as I am for update number 8 that should drop now in the last quarter of 2020, close to December, end of December, I think. Let me know in the comments what you think about the upcoming editions with update 8. A little information here, we will get those transport and supply vehicles in update 8, but the big update for vehicles in general will be update 9. So we will get those 2 vehicles, or that 1 vehicle that serves as both of them, but a lot more vehicles and a lot more overwork on these vehicles will be done with update 9. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about them. What do you think about the improvements to the engineer role? And of course, if you enjoyed my content, if you have an addition to what I told you, if you have a wish for future videos, let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed the content I provided. If you did so, of course, leave a like and a subscribe. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna see each other on the battlefield.